Welcome to The Courage Effect. I'm Suzanne Weller, and this is a show about growth and unleashing what's possible. You will hear inspiring stories about what courage looks like, how we navigate what's getting in our way, and the opportunities that surface when we choose courage over comfort. Let's get started. Welcome to the first ever live stream of The Courage Effect. It is February 25th, 2025, and I am thrilled to have my guests here, 3 other Meta refugees, as we talk about lessons learned from leaving Meta. And we're so honored for those of you that have decided to join us live, and for those of you that are listening to this recording after the fact. The Courage Effect is something that I created almost 2 years ago. So I'm coming up on the 2-year anniversary in April. And the goal of the podcast, thank you very much. The goal of the podcast, so it started off, it was also a radio show. But my entire mission with this is to spread courageous contagion. So I want people to come and have conversations about what courage looks like, because I feel a lot of the time we assume that courage has to be these massive heroic acts. And sometimes it's just showing up and doing the hard work or having a hard conversation with somebody. And I've been able to spotlight some amazing people on my show, 2 of which are in the room right now. So that's wonderful to have some guests, some alumni in the room. And the conversation today, well, I decided to take a break from the podcast. I'm going to be changing from episodic into seasonal. And as I've been iterating on what's going to be next, I decided to leave Meta at the beginning of this year. And there were so many conversations that were happening around this decision. A lot of people who had done it in the past. Militia, one of our guests, actually did it a couple of years ago. So she was the trailblazer. Mm-hmm. And it was something that I had been really wanting to do for years and just hadn't done. And there were many reasons that I was getting in my own way around it. And with everything that was happening in the larger world and just the political climate and seeing the disinformation that was being spread and the values that I felt, and this is not a judgment. If you're on the platform, if you're staying on the platform, all good. But for me, I really knew that I needed to make a decision for myself because I was feeling sick every time I opened Instagram. Like I was just not sitting well with me. And I decided to make a change. So that's what I did. And I had so many conversations around it, and I received so many interesting posts. I mean, and today's guest, Bridget, is one of the people who saw my post on Substack, and we got to know each other through this process. And I realized that there's a lot of conversations that need to be had around this, and a lot of people that are curious about what would it look like, and what are the lessons that we're learning as we go through it? Because in honesty, it's not always an easy process, and it's not always a clean process. So welcome to this conversation. I'm thrilled to be here with 3 other guests today. So let me give you some background on who they are. I'm actually going to go in reverse order. So I'm going to start with the other Suzanne Rothmeyer. She is a brand and lifestyle photographer for women based in the Seattle area. And she specializes in women who are 40 plus and are deeply values driven, helping them to craft the visual story of their brand to better connect with their clients. Suzanne, a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here with you guys.
Thank you. And then next is Militia Marks, an alumni to The Courage Effect. I think you were like probably the 3rd or 4th guest that I had in early days.
So exciting.
Militia Marks is the founder of Poplin Style Direction, a boutique personal styling consultancy in Seattle. And since 2013, she's helped hundreds of cis and trans women across the country look and feel their best through personalized one-on-one style mentoring. Militia, a pleasure to have you join us again.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this.
Yay. And we have Bridget Belden. Bridget, as I said before, is somebody that I met on Substack, so I'm thrilled that she is newer to our conversation. So Bridget is the founder and CEO of Magenta Consulting. She is based in Orange County, California. It is a coaching organization providing world-class tools, empowering women in midlife to discover who they are beyond the myriad of roles they have taken on for decades. Bridget, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here with everybody.
Great. So we do have the chat open. If you have Q&A, please feel free to go ahead and put something in the chat and we'll go through it as we go through. We are going to be 45 minutes. And I would ask that you maintain mute on your microphones until then, just as we're doing recording to maximize the experience for everybody. So thank you. So the big question, first of all, what drove your decision to leave Meta? So I'm actually going to go in reverse order from where we started. And Bridget, I'm going to pose that question to you.
Very good. Well, thank you again for having me. And I think for me, the driving factor was really a values choice. And again, I really want to echo what you said earlier about no judgment whatsoever, because I know that people have a myriad of reasons for being on social media. And I really believe in the individual accountability, and you have to do what's right for you. And for me, it was really about a commitment to showing up in alignment with my values. And one of my values is free speech and ability to go into spaces that feel safe and, not disinformation. Um, so it was the platform itself and what was being really, um, when the decision was made to eliminate fact checking, for example, that was one of my final straws. I also felt like the powers that be of Meta in particular. I'm also off of Amazon as well, but just that the kissing the ring and really kind of throwing everybody under the bus to get what they want, and so that didn't sit well with me. So it was really values driven for me.
Thank you for that. I'm just going to open that up to either Melissa or Suzanne. You can either jump in as you'd like to. I know you both have opinions on this.
Okay.
Go, Suzanne.
I'm pretty much the same as Bridget. For me, it was definitely driven by values, some pretty deep conversations I'd had with my kids. I also lean heavily to free speech, but I have a little different take on it. That wasn't really one of the main reasons I left, because I'm more of a, we all need to take personal responsibility for that. And unfortunately, part of free speech is, the assholes and people saying things we don't agree with and that are horrible and all of those other things. Also, the fact checking was not necessarily a big driving force for me, because I don't think that those platforms were ever meant to be news sources. They've turned into that because we're so addicted to them. We turn to it for everything now. But I'm not convinced that that's their responsibility to be doing that. I think that we need to take responsibility of what news sources we're looking at and consuming, and research their fact checking and their accountability. So I think that I have a lot of kind of conflicting feelings about all of that, but it really for me came down to personally, and for my business, the values issue not aligning with my values in terms of the damage that I really believe is being done to our culture and society and our kids in particular. So for my business, it was sort of another whole thing of where I wasn't really convinced that it was reaching my clients or potential clients anyway. I'm seeing, all I'm seeing is ads and suggestions of who to follow instead of the people I actually had chosen to follow. I wasn't even seeing them on there. And while I have a really loyal following from kind of past genres that I've done in my work, I just wasn't convinced that I was even speaking to my client base where my business aspect was concerned.
Can I clarify one point? Because Suzanne, thank you for highlighting this, is that I agree with you wholeheartedly on the fact checking as well as the free speech element of it. And if I could rephrase, it's really the values, and like you, it's been kind of a complicated conversation. So just to clarify for you and people listening, and for myself, really, the values were the driving force for me. And the free speech, I agree, is fraught with
for sure,
can be damaging, yeah, to many people.
I would just add to all that, I think echoing everybody's individual values and how important that is, I would say I was only on social media for my business. Like, I didn't want to be on it. When I started my business, I knew it was the way that I needed to get in touch with people and communicate my brand, et cetera. I'm a personal stylist, so you can kind of see the connection there, especially with Instagram. And it was useful. It allowed super targeting customers if I wanted to, et cetera. So, there was value there. But as a person, my husband and I have always done this thing where every once in a while we just kind of take a step back of whatever particular thing it is and look at it and go, you know what? If if I just learned about this today, would I do it? And in this case, there's something about our culture or the companies, I don't know, we've decided that if you're not on social media, you need to somehow defend yourself instead of acknowledging that these are products and we decide whether or not we want to consume the products. And so I just took a step back and was like, do I want to consume this product? No. Like, why am I doing this? I don't like anything about, like, so many things about the values, about trafficking of women and the way that women are treated on social media and the companies not defending them and putting people at risk. And, there are a million different reasons, but really it was taking a step back and saying, is this a product I want to consume? No. And why am I doing it? Because everybody else is doing it? Like, that's not a reason. And then also understanding that, and this is not, no shade to the companies for this, like, a business model is a business model. Like, I respect it, but we are the product. So they sell the fact that they have users to advertisers. And so just by being on social media, whether or not we participate or log in or whatever, we're helping to make them money. And so if I don't agree with what they're doing, me just having an account, let alone encouraging my people to go there, is really just supporting what they're doing. And so I feel like the way that we can take a stand is to opt out. And it doesn't mean that the people who work there are evil. It's like a totally different situation. It's their job is to sell a product. And I'm saying, I don't want to buy your product. And I feel like if enough people did that, they would say, I should reevaluate what I'm doing with my product.
I appreciate that you're putting it through the context of a product, because it very much is. And one of the things, and I know I've told some of you all this, is that I actually have not left Meta because they've locked me out of my account and I can't get back in to delete it. And even though I've deleted Instagram, I had multiple accounts, I deleted WhatsApp, I cannot delete Facebook. So I'm in this quagmire of having to appeal the decision because I don't want them counting me as a subscriber and making money off of me. Like, it's like I want to be fully divorced from it, and I'm really struggling to get away from it. Laura, do you all include advertising on Google and or Pinterest within this decision? Let's talk about that. I want to get to that because we're going to talk about the goals of the platform. So let's talk about the goals of the platform personally and professionally, because then I think Laura's bringing up a really good point too, is as we talk about what else is out there, especially for business owners, how else do you connect with your audience? So I'm gonna put that out to the three of you. Melissa, I don't know if you want to, since you were speaking last, just to dive in on that.
Sure. So actually, Google, Pinterest, LinkedIn, those are the only things I'm on. I think of Pinterest as not as social media, but as a search engine. And I believe that that's the way people use it. So I think that's different. I use LinkedIn because there's more personal accountability because it's your career. Like, people know who you are and how to find you, and people are less likely to, be terrible. And because there's a reason to needing to do that. And then I would say, yes, I do think that every one of these, it's a product. So maybe I won't want to be on LinkedIn in 2 years. Who knows, depending on how that all shakes out. But I do think Google has been the best thing that ever happened to me, frankly, because I had 11 years of SEO for my business. So frankly, I had the privilege to be able to leave social media and still have people be able to find me just doing normal Google search. And so I'm very aware that this is a very different situation for someone starting out and they're questioning how can they, get going with social media.
I can say for me personally, the business side of it was a little bit easier to leave. I had been on doing all the things, posting regularly, and I really saw primarily Instagram as a way to, put my message out into the world. And I did that really consistently, and I found that my user base kind of got stuck at a certain level. And no matter what I did, it didn't grow. And then the people that did join me were then dropping into my DMs and wanting to sell me something. So it felt like the people I wanted to reach weren't finding me. And so that part of it was easy. I did do some advertising on Facebook, and that was just a disaster. It didn't do anything. And it could be because I'm in the coaching space. So I'm not selling a tangible product. And so it was easier from a business decision for me to leave both of those platforms. And now I am actually on Substack, which I find in searching for community feels like a much better fit, because I found thus far, that I'm connecting with people who are in alignment, like Suzanne, for example.
The Suzannes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Bridget on that. I am on Substack now, which I only did that after leaving Meta, which was very recent. So I think I'm in, I don't know, week 3 maybe of this process. And so I started from scratch on Substack when I bailed on Meta, and I'm on Pinterest. I'm not terribly active on there, but use it in the same way Militia does. And I'm on LinkedIn. Coming from the perspective of my business, LinkedIn is great for me. I hadn't really paid attention to LinkedIn. So again, I'm like kind of starting from square one, even though I've had account sitting there for a while. But my business is kind of 50% more corporate, which is the LinkedIn is great for my business, and 50% more creative and coaching, people in the coaching space and people in other creative spaces. And it's not so great for that. That's a space where Instagram is really good, or was really good. I'm not convinced it is anymore for reaching those people. So I'm still searching for, something to replace primarily Instagram as a visual platform to share my work and to speak to those people. And the closest thing I've found is Substack, but of course it's for writers. I love writing, and I did put up a newsletter there. I'm really trying to focus mostly at this point on SEO, my website SEO, and my blog, because we'll get into this later, I know, but I know I own and control my content there. And from there, I'm sharing it out to Substack. I'm also doing some more personal writing and sharing on Substack, because that kind of takes the place a little bit anyway of like Instagram stories, where it's a little more spontaneous and just life stuff. So I'm still trying to figure that out, but yeah, I have kind of a mixed bag that I'm trying to piece together things for. And there's just, there's Blue Sky, and I think Suzanne, you're on that. Mm-hmm. But I also am struggling with, I don't necessarily just want to jump on a bunch more platforms, because they can be bought up by somebody just like the ones that I left. And then it's turned into something else, and my content I might not be able to access, or all of those issues. So I'm really trying to, was taking a page out of Militia's book. We had a conversation early on about that. And she has a very strong email list, and that's really robust. And so I'm trying to really develop because that was something else that I kind of took for granted, and didn't put to use. So those are things I'm really trying hard to develop as a
I thought you were going to say strong opinions. She has strong opinions. Oh my gosh. Can I just chime in quickly? Someone in the chat said that they're staying on these to make sure that the platforms just don't turn toxic. And I just want to say, I think that's amazing. I love that story. Like, your values don't have to be my values. And I think that just leading with intention is what matters, and being thoughtful about, do I want to do this? If so, why or why not? And then doing it. I love it. So I think that's really what's missing in a lot of these, is feeling like people, when you hear from them, they're like, I'd love to get off that, but I can't. Sure, you can. It's like, well, that's the only place where I hear this or that or whatever. And that's absolutely true, especially with children or like activities. But we have like certain people. I'm like, okay, you're in the Facebook group. Can you tell me anytime there's something about whatever? Okay, there might be a protest. You're the friend I know will protest. Will you please make sure to tell me? And our Christmas cards, I put on every Christmas cards. We're not on the socials. Like, reach out, and then I text people. So it does take effort. And I think anytime you do something that's intentional and you're following your own values, amazing.
Can we take that one step further on the intentionality? Because I think you mentioned something, Melissa, about the what you started doing and being intentional about when you left a couple of years ago was really reaching out to people and finding like real life connection and community. Of course, once COVID was over, right? But I think that is also for me just feeling that need to connect with people in a very real way, meaning picking up the phone, meeting them for lunch. And I feel like that is, obviously not easy because you have people who live all over the place, but where you can find those connections where you can make that real life and talk on the phone and make it makes life that much richer.
Yeah. And I left all these platforms during COVID,
I
like
know.
2021 deep COVID. And what I did actually is that was when people were going outside, right? And so I'm like, okay, every Saturday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to go on a walk around the lake with a friend. And I would just text random people. And now that continues on. So I may see a friend once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year, and we go on a walk. And that gets you through like 40 friends.
Yeah,
It's like, and
absolutely.
people love it, and it kind of and it's something that I was doing kind of here and there before I left the socials, but now it's part of my lifestyle and the part of lifestyle of a lot of people I know. So it doesn't have to be a huge burden once it just becomes part of your routine.
Absolutely.
Right. I want to speak to something too, what you were saying, Militia. I just want to say what me leaving those platforms is in part kind of an experiment. I'm not saying I would never go back. And I'm speaking to the people, when you're saying people are staying in order to make it a better place. And I admire that. I really do. And I thought about that. I really thought about that as far as a reason for staying. But I just feel, just knowing how things work in the world and with these types of huge mega companies, that change is not, I don't believe that change is going to happen unless we leave it first. And I think that that's what is going to create the change. And I'm very hopeful. I really am very hopeful that the change will come, if not on those platforms, on new upcoming platforms. I actually want to, if I can, just say, this was Sinead Bovell, and it was on, and I highly recommend the Substack if you don't already know about it, pattern recognition. It's Beth Bentley. And this was on one of her posts. She was quoting, it was a screenshot. We are in the in-between stage of social media. We have largely outgrown the social media networks and platforms we have today, but the next chapter of social networks has yet to come into form. The type of content we create, the platforms we share it on, and our reasons for sharing it in the first place will shift. It always has, always will. And that to me is really encouraging and heartening and very, very true. And I really recommend everybody going. I'm really pushing Substacks. Like, please come over to Substack. I know I'm being very evangelistic here, but Beth Bentley, the pattern recognition, she had a series that she did starting a year ago that was called the mehification, mehification of everything. And Militia, I think you would find it super interesting. You don't have to, necessarily pay to be on Substack. There are a lot of, subscribe accounts, but anyway, it's a series that absolutely nails so many aspects of what we're talking about. It's some of the best writing I've read on this subject so far is that series. I think she's got 3 or 4 in the series.
Cool. I'll read it.
Well, also, and Susan, I know you put in the chat, are you using the paid version? The thing that's so interesting about Substack, and this isn't just Substack too, I also want to mention, like, there's Beehive. there's other like newsletter and community platforms that exist as well. But people can get paid for their content, and you as a content creator can determine how you want to, what's free, what's paid, like how you actually interact. I've really enjoyed being a part of, like, I follow Dan Harris, from 10% Happier. He's great on Substack. I love his writing. I love that he links into a lot of the pods. He does, like, around the inauguration, he was doing live streams with, like, Van Jones of CNN. Like, he was doing it with all of these various people, and he was doing live meditations. He was leading people through meditations in real time. And that's a paid subscriber edition. So that's the thing, is you have the ability of what you want to get out there, and to do it. It's also interesting now because because so many people are going to Substack, they're saying, well, Substack's going to become exactly what the other platforms have become. So that's the other thing is, I think, how do we determine and decide, and this is a question for the group as well, what platforms we're on? Because I don't want to go all in on one thing, because that to me is like, because if then I'm not happy with it and I want to leave, then I'm screwed. And I don't necessarily, it's great to build community, but I feel like there needs to be some sort of diversification with it. So, and they all serve different needs, right? The way that we interact with people, the way that we bring content, the way that we stay connected. Sarah, you also talked about that. You know, how do you stay in touch with people? Believe me, like my dog videos are probably one of the things I miss the most about Instagram.
Ooh, me too.
Yeah, but it's just, it's fine. Like I have family all over the world. I have friends all over the world. So I've been really intentional about, okay, like let's get on Signal. Let's get on other ways and other platforms that we have an ability to be able to connect in some way. And I do feel like now, I mean, I am being a lot more intentional in those connections. So there is a certain amount of loss and FOMO, but I'm sort of doubling down on the quality of the connections that I want to have. So it's like going back to ye olden times in certain ways, but it's working.
Yeah, my sister calls it that stupid stack thing. I can't figure out that stupid stack thing. I'm like,
I will say that the navigation can be a little bit tricky. It's not necessarily intuitive, but as far as just to echo what Suzanne was saying, I have found that as I've been on it for about 2 years, but I kind of tried it for a little bit to see what would work. It didn't really work for me, so I left, and now I'm back on, and I'm getting ready to relaunch. And for me, it's been because there's so many people on there now, and there's so many great people that are migrating over, well-known, newscasters, for example, that are leaving. And there's so much content that it's really takes everything I have to be very discerning with the amount of content I subscribe to, not just free, but paid, because I don't want to have 15 things show up in my email box every day. But there is a lot out there to choose from, and I found it really rich.
yeah,
Yeah, can I just add that this is part of the values conversation for me? So I believe people should get paid. And I especially believe that there's a place for creatives to get paid, and that's important. And this is one of the issues I really had with Facebook and Instagram was people are working so hard for free. And it's like, what are we even doing here? And so I know every company is problematic in various ways. And I just put my client videos on YouTube because we host them there, but I don't do anything with like a YouTube channel. But I feel 1,000% better supporting YouTube because it pays their creators, and those people can make money and have a career instead of just doing reel after reel after reel. And like, what do they get? So I think when you're looking at Substack, it's a wonderful example. I don't really go on Substack, frankly. I have an account, whatever, but what I do love about it is it supports my values, which are, hey, when someone leaves the New York Times and is like, hey, I want to go make money writing, he can go do that on Substack, and we can then choose to pay him. And I think when you think about whatever your personal values are, you can look at those opportunities.
Not only that, but they get to take their content with them when they leave.
Right.
And when they leave, which is huge.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy to do that with the meta platforms.
yeah,
Correct.
don't make that easy. That's for sure.
And they change
Go
they
ahead.
change the algorithms, and so your content may or may not be getting to whomever whenever anyway.
Yeah.
And so then you realize that you actually don't control. And to answer your earlier question, Suzanne, what do? You build your list because you never have any control over anything. And I don't think personally, I think too much diversification can be rough because you're just feeling like you need to perform in every area. If it's for your business personally, that I'm sure that's very different. You could have different streams. And to answer the practical question, when people are saying, how do you stay connected? I miss the puppy videos, etc. You kind of retrain your groups. So it's like suddenly now I'm going to have a group chat with these 5 people who I know are friends. And then I'll have another group. They all have different names so that I can like figure out who they are. I'll call people, and I never used to talk to people on the phone, but people who don't live here, I talk to them more than I used to talk to whoever. I call them walk and talks. So I go on my own walk and I call friends who live across the country and across the world, and they kind of expect that, and they walk at the same time. So you can create a lifestyle where you're engaging with people and you can have more meaningful connections than this little thing here and there.
Totally agree, Melissa. 2 quick points. One on that, I think it's so important when you're creating a different lifestyle. It's really true. And just in less than a month, all my friends and family that are complaining that I'm leaving the Meta platforms, I'm getting more, like my kids, I'm getting way more FaceTime calls or Signal. We're all on Signal. I asked them to all get on Signal, and we're having way more Signal conversations with each other than we ever have, because they live in different states now. And friends who were bummed that I left Instagram, they're texting me now, pictures of that they know I really enjoy seeing. And it really is, and as far as Substack, I agree with creators getting paid 150%. I am not charging for my content on there. For one, I'm not a good enough writer to charge for it, and I'm doing it for my business primarily. So, but I do think that's the biggest problem with getting people over onto Substack, because perception wise, there's this perception barrier that, oh, that's like Patreon, that's like, you have to subscribe to read anything on there. And yes, it's true, you have to subscribe to read certain things, but most creators are putting at least some of their stuff out there for free. And then you can choose at what point you want to subscribe. So that's a big problem with Substack for me, although I freaking love it. And I feel smarter being on there after 3 weeks than being on Instagram and Facebook for 10 years. So
Can I just add one more way people can connect? This is not for me, but our son is 14 and he does not have a cell phone. He is not on social media. He has the Apple Watch, so he has texts with friends like constantly. And they also play online video games together where they're talking the whole time as if they're hanging out. And I would like them to hang out more in person. So that's a separate thing. But there are lots of different ways depending on your lifestyle and your interests. And I know that this conversation is going a different direction for sure, but I would just say, to me, one of the most important reasons that we don't do these things is because as parents, we're just like, we don't want you to do it. And it's the only way to model for your kids doing it yourself. You know what I mean? And so to be able to keep him off of social media, at least until he's in high school, if not longer, is a gift.
Thank you for that.
My kids think it's great. They've been so supportive, and because they actually want to get off too. And they're kind of both talking about leaving those platforms. So
yeah, my son's friends don't want to be on at all. They're not on any socials, except some of them are on Snapchat, which freaks me out. And I have conversations with them in the car about it because I think it gives a false sense of security, that thing, oh, it just disappears. I'm like, yeah, but someone can screenshot it, etc. And so as a kid, but I think we live in this world where people are so afraid to be canceled. They're so afraid to say the wrong thing, or that it's the opposite, where people are just like vitriol because it doesn't feel like a real person is actually going to accept that information or hear it. And so it takes away a lot of the important aspects of communication.
Yeah. I'm curious, having gone through this process, what are the biggest lessons that you've learned? What mistakes did you make? What might you have done differently? And Bridget, I'm going to take it over to you first. And if you could come a little closer to your microphone, Bridget, that would be helpful.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Sorry if I've been echoing.
Thank you.
I think, honestly, I put so much thought and intention into it. I don't feel like I would do it differently. I really, as I said, I'm committed to living in alignment with my values as much as possible. And it became excruciatingly uncomfortable, and you feel it in your body when something's not aligned. And I just couldn't do it anymore. It was a very easy decision for me. If I could do anything differently with Substack, it would have been to stay on it when I first started 2 years ago and be a little bit more practiced on that, because now, as I said, there's so many people jumping on that it's easier to get lost in the flow. But I am, feel very good about my decision to do it.
Thank you. Melissa, I'll go to you.
Oh, geez, I felt like I was talking so much. No, go ahead. Lessons learned. I mean, now I'm about 2.5, 3 years out or something. And like I said, I really didn't want to go on in the first place. So kind of different perspectives. I think it's important to lead with courage, but not with judgment. And so, I mean, Suzanne and Suzanne both, we've been talking about this decision I made for years. And it was, I hope you both feel that I wasn't like, you guys, you're a problem. You need to get off. You know what I mean? But it was just like, let me show you how I'm doing it. And if that works for you, great. And if you find some other path, great. And if you decide this isn't for you, great. So I think honestly, it isn't going to make much of an impact on these companies unless a lot of people do it. So it does matter to have more. But at the same time, I think we need to come from a place of compassion. And I think I've already mentioned the myriad ways that I've worked harder to stay more in connection with people. It's not easy, but it's totally possible. I'll say the last things. The hardest part to being off Facebook, frankly, this is sounds really dark, but it's how you find out when people have passed away. It just is. And it's like when you have friends from different circles or different careers or whatever. So that kind of thing is hard, and trying to stay connected with people who tell you or let people know you're not on social. So when something happens, they think to let you know and not just think, oh, it was on Facebook, you didn't see it. I think that that really matters. And then lastly, we just joined the local Indivisible group in our city, which is a small city, which probably never would have happened if we were on socials. We would have joined the Indivisible group and seen the posts and done whatever. And so now we engage in person with people who live within 5 miles of us. And how much better for the world is that?
I love that. You also bring up something that was really relevant for me over the past few years. Was another reason why I didn't leave is that I had two very dear friends battling cancer, and it was really hard to like stay in the loop. And we had a care community going on, and keeping her, like some of their larger communities, informed on what was happening too, and looping people in and sharing the experiences that we've been having. It's really hard. So it's not just about the deaths, but it's also like just staying up to date with those groups. And it's really hard too. Like I had to leave WhatsApp and Facebook groups for my business, right? Like for like speaking opportunities and things that were really great and gave me leads. But it came to a point of I can figure out other ways to engage in this that are, to me, it's that I weighed it out. And I think that's the thing that we all have to do is balance it and figure out what is going to be most effective for us or not. But there is going to be a hit, and I realize that too. But I also am realizing that there's additional opportunity as a result of that, and there's like opportunity cost. I have to make sure that I'm looking at that, and what might be the price of staying as opposed to going. So.
And I would lean into there probably is a solution we don't know about. So much to Suzanne's quote, we're in this weird in between where people are unhappy. Like you meet very few people who are like, I love social, it's great. Yeah. They're just like in this weird space. So something new is coming. So in the instance of like a friend with cancer or whatever, most hospitals have these really cool ways that it's like their own social platform so that you can communicate with a ton of people. People have private blogs that only have a password, so they communicate everything that's happening with their kids. Yeah. Like there are tools, so you can just Google the thing you're trying to do, and there's probably some little scrappy tool that can help you with that.
Yes, great point. Caring Bridge is one that we were using too. So
right.
And Suzanne, I want to make sure that you get to answer that question too. Your takeaways and your lessons learned.
If I could do something different, I would most definitely I would have developed my, looked at other platforms, developed my SEO more and my email, done more writing on my own blog. Those three things I would have put a lot more energy into much, much earlier. And I would have gone off of it sooner. For sure. I regret being on there and supporting it as long as I did. And Militia, I just want to say never, because I feel like you do, like no judgment at all. I truly, for anybody who's choosing to stay on there, I have friends and family who are uncomfortably choosing that. But, we all go through our process in our own time. But you were nothing other than just inspiring to me. And you were one of like two main people that really kind of made me stop and go, okay, this gives me hope. There are people actually doing it. And I think that what you find when you go off of it, as painful as it can be when you quit it initially, because there is a lot of FOMO, it's where, like it or not, it's still where everybody is, so to speak. But you do wind up developing these other things, especially if you look for them and you're making other people, it's a ripple effect, and you're making other people aware of them. You're bringing them in here and there. And that has to happen before we're going to get something better. And so, yeah, I would have paid more attention to these other areas and developed them more before leaving.
Can I say something quickly? If you have a business, make sure that you're getting reviews on other platforms. I lost a lot of 5-star reviews on Facebook. So just be thoughtful about that too.
Yeah, that's where most of mine were. And that's part of like developing the Google and reaching out and starting to ask for Google reviews, because, there's all these, you're asking the same clients to review in all these different places. And it's like, you kind of hate to do that too.
I've also noticed that happening more now with people that I've been doing collaborations with, and they're like, hey, can you leave me a Google review? It's getting to be more of, not many people asked me that in the past, and now it's becoming a lot more, just regular. So it's good for us to know. And I think that's the other thing too, is how can we as business owners ask our clients and ask people in our universe how they can support us? Like when we need client testimonials or when we need things to speak to the value of what we bring, how do we also think outside the box and make that an opportunity? I know, Laura, on this call, you've done so many cool things over the years in growing your business, and you're always trying to evolve as well. So, but it is that idea of, I don't know, like, I think we need to take inventory just like we need to in everything in our lives, and just understand, where do we invest? Because it really and truly is an investment. And I always say your 3 most precious resources as a human are your time, your energy, and your attention. And that was one of the reasons why I left, was because I was spending way too much time like scrolling through stuff when I was, like waiting in a waiting room, or just in my life. I've also gained time back. And I know that the same is true for all of our guests here. So we're going to wrap up. I want to just, to all of our guests, to all of you, thank you for being here. One last takeaway or sentence that our guests would offer to the audience today. So I'm going to go in alpha. So Bridget, let's start with you.
I would just say, do what's right for you and follow your own conscience. And I think where we're entering into, this is longer than a sentence, sorry, I'll be quick, is individual accountability. And so it's up to each of us to decide how to move forward with intention.
Thank you. Melissa?
I'll say you have agency over your own life, and just remember, these are products and you can connect with people in other ways.
Thank you.
What both of them said, plus be brave. Mm-hmm. And it is scary. It really can be scary, especially with the business, but be brave. It will be okay. And you will find other avenues, and you'll probably find that your quality of life goes up.
Love it.
Love that.
Definitely a courageous conversation. Thank you to all of you for being here. This will be recorded and posted, so you can share it with other people or listen again, and stay courageous. See you all soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
The Courage Effect is brought to you by Weller Collaboration. If you're looking to enhance your leadership skills or get more comfortable with change, please reach out to us. Our team of coaches, advisors, and consultants would love to help you get out of your comfort zone, operate in a braver brain space, and achieve even more amazing results. More information about Weller Collaboration is available in the show notes. Please spread the word about the Courage Effect. Rate and review on your favorite podcast platform, and we would love for you to share with your colleagues, family, or anyone in your universe who could use a good dose of courage. If you have feedback or would like to apply to be a guest, please reach out to us via our website, thecourageeffect.com. Danny Mathers is our producer. Dave Nelson composed our theme music. Alex Sandyforth is our administrative maven, and I'm your host, Suzanne Weller.